We have a significant new decision that will affect millions of migrants trying to get legal status in this country, according to the Board of Immigration Appeals. If you are here trying to gain legal status through the court system, you cannot get bond, which means that you will be detained during what might be a years-long process. This new decision obviously affecting millions in this severe way. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's break this down. Now, in prior practice, if you had crossed the border and you were detained, you could be in a detention center waiting your process. But if you were here longer than 2 years, you could be out on a bond during your immigration case while it went forward. It was always up to the immigration judge, similar to a criminal case, whether or not you got bond or not. If you were considered a flight risk, if you were considered somehow unsafe to the community, then you wouldn't be granted bond. But if you had been here a while, if you had been here, working, let's say, or having family, then they were taking that into account. And if you were not a flight risk, you were not a danger, then that particular immigration judge, as we always have given judges the discretion, that particular immigration judge could decide that you could be out on bond pending your case. And that is what typically happened. Now, Trump, and over the summer, they issued a memo saying that you could no longer be issued bond pending your immigration case going through the courts. But we just now had this decision that is going to be what the immigration judges have to decide. Now, the Board of Immigration Appeals is essentially the top court, let's say, of the immigration system. The immigration judges are a separate system than our federal courts. The federal courts are the judiciary. Of course, the top court there is the Supreme Court. But with the immigration judges, they are governed, let's say, by the executive branch, particularly the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice appoints the members of this Board of Immigration panel. There's 15 members. It once was 28. They just reduced it under Pam Bondi to 15. And Pam Bondi is the one that appointed these 15 judges who just made this decision. And this decision is the governing decision for the immigration courts. They have to follow that decision because that was in a sense, a decision from their own Supreme Court that they cannot issue a bond for people going into the court system, even if they have been here for years. This extreme, harsh measure because of the Trump memo that went out over the summer. They are trying to have their decisions be in line with that. Now, this may not be legal under the Constitution because the Constitution affords people due process. We have, you can't have unusual crime and punishment. There are separate cases where people who are being denied bond, because this has been kind of the practice before leading up to this decision, where they have successfully in federal court said that the denial of the bond is a violation of their constitutional rights. In fact, right now there is a class action in California, the Central District of California. There is a class action where ACLU and others are saying that the practice of denying bond despite meeting the general criteria for bond is unconstitutional. That case will, depending on how that goes, could ultimately go to the Supreme Court. And just to point out why it's a class action because of the Supreme Court decision around national injunctions, basically taking away one district court judge's ability to issue a nationwide injunction, and the Supreme Court saying you should do this by class action instead. So sure enough, that's what the ACLU and others did. They filed this by class action, trying to protect not just the specific plaintiffs in that lawsuit, but all of those lawsuits. So that case is going to be going up to the Supreme Court. But in the meantime, you have real people who have been in this country and have roots in this country facing the idea of having to be detained while their immigration case goes forward. Delete Me makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. It's easier than ever to find personal information about people online. Having your address, phone number, and family members' names hanging out on the internet can have actual consequences in the real world and makes everyone vulnerable. As someone with an active online presence, privacy is really important to me. I, in fact, became a customer of Delete Me before they became a sponsor because I felt like I really needed to protect my information online. So I signed up for Delete Me not only for myself, but for my entire family. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% of all your Delete Me plan by texting mistrial to 64,000. The only way to get 20% off is to text mistrial to 64000. That's mistrial to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. This, of course, is in line with what we are seeing with them wanting to build detention centers and wanting Trump and wants his friends to get rich off the backs of people in this country who have contributed to this country. They're essentially creating a whole other private prison scheme. Trump ran on deporting people, but instead he's detaining people, and people's tax dollars are being spent and will be to a much larger degree if this decision stands, if this immigration decision stands, because you will have millions of people needing to be housed in detention centers for years while their cases move forward. If Trump really wanted to deport people, he would just hire more immigration judges. But instead, in that big awful bill, they put more money to ICE and detention centers because it's not actually about deporting people. It's about profiting off of people, the backs of really hardworking, good Americans. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been entitled to bond to begin with. And just in California, I mean, we hear about these detention centers, of course, going up in, Alcatraz, in Florida, the Alcatraz, like all these really high profile things. But even in the state of California, California stopped private prisons. Governor Newsom shut them down, which was great. But there was a private prison basically kind of left with nobody in it. And they have just contracted with ICE. It's a 2,560 bed in California city facility. And they received $10 million of initial funding. This private prison contractor, Core Civic, received $10 million with maximum funding of up to $31.2 million for a 6-month period starting in April. This is according to the New York Times. We are seeing in real time people, these companies, these oligarchs profiting off of people, getting ready to profit off of the detainment of people. And then on the other hand, we see this immigration board doing that work to frankly make it possible for them to profit off of people. Again, this is not about deporting people. This is about profiting off of detaining people and people's tax dollars going off of detaining really hardworking people. So this decision by this Board of Immigration Appeals, huge decision affecting people immediately, while the federal courts and this class action and others that will surely be filed will have to make its way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, this Supreme Court may or may not be able to help migrants who are going to be detained. As we know, it's now a conservative court. The last time they looked at this decision in 2018, they had, this was before the current makeup of the court even. They said that federal law did not stop detainment of people, but the Constitution may, but they perhaps may be even going further now that they have Amy Coney Barrett on a court instead of Justice Breyer. So possibly this might be about more elections and changing the makeup, frankly, of the Board of Immigration Appeals, because it's the Attorney General that appoints that board. But so just to keep you updated on this and the many important things to come, people choosing to self-deport. I know somebody who chose to self-deport because he didn't want to be sent to either a third world country or a detention center. And it just broke my heart because he was everything good about this country. And now you are going to take that and you're going to take it by a million. So we're shining the light on it here at MeidasTouch. Very important story that's going to be affecting many people's lives. And this is coming at the same time as the Supreme Court just issued the decision overturning that decision in California that stopped ICE from racially profiling. Supreme Court just overturning that order, allowing basically ICE to continue their racial profile searches. And here at the same time, we just know now what will happen to people who get rounded up on that and deserve bond because they meet their criteria, but now won't get the bond because of this decision by the Board of Immigration Appeals.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.